For God, for country, for truth, for justice, for the Republic. You're listening to the Powder Monkey Podcast on PirateInfoWars.com. Episode 32 of the Powder Monkey Podcast. This podcast is titled Far Out Wisdom. And why? Well, we're going to get into that in 1 second. With me, today is a special day because I have a full crew here with the Powder Monkey. I have the quartermaster, John Allen Williamson.
That would be me.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you.
And the master gunner. Here we have Liam McCarty. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Thank you.
And so, why are we far out today? Well, we are far out because we have the hostess of the Far Out Wisdom Podcast sailing with us. It is an absolute pleasure. Boonn, thanks for sailing with us today. How are you?
You know, Patrick, I was sitting here, I was like, well, he's going to say my name wrong.
I nailed it, right?
You nailed it. Hi, everybody. Yay. Thank you for inviting me. By the way, I want to ask you guys about the name. Why do you guys name it, what is it, the Monkey Powder Podcast?
Powder Monkey Podcast. And, okay, so that was it's sort of an inside joke. Oh. And but it's also sort of it was just all sort of a synchronistic thing, and it started out with we had another podcast that John would hop on. I sent you a link, the neocrusader.com podcast, and when Alex Jones got banned, I was just sitting around one day and the name Pirate InfoWars. I was like, how do I pirate, his stuff now? And I thought, well, hell, I start PirateInfoWars.com.
Okay.
And so the Powder Monkeys were normally younger lads. They were non-commissioned kids, basically, that they would send. And since we never really evolved, we kind of hit that failure to launch thing. So we're all mentally about 8 or 9 years old here. So it's kind of like Neverland, only in hillbilly hell. And so we just we had this video of this. There's this guerrilla group, they look like, somewhere, just, I don't know what
South
army.
African, most likely.
What army they were. But anyway.
And they gave the monkey the AK-47.
Yeah, they gave this monkey an AK-47, a fucking loaded AK-47. Here's a fucking AK-47. And I guess one of the commanders on video, you can see him go, no. But by that time, the motherfuckers had already popped off. And so, you just would have to see the video. I'll send you the link.
I honestly, when I first came across you, Patrick, I think we came across each other on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And when I saw your logo, I was like, it has something to do with fucking cocaine and monkeys.
Well, those could have been
okay. So, in addition to all the other agencies, I guess the DEA now. I guess maybe I should be. For anybody listening, cocaine is not involved normally. I never hear. I don't know about the other end sometimes with my guests, but now looking back on some of the episodes I've done, that might make sense. I don't know, but. I guess I'll have to go back and digest all those again. But I don't know. I just I think when I came across you, I saw you on Facebook. I found your profile on Facebook because I was doing some sort of citizen journalist undercover things, and I was just, I was working with a cleaning crew. You try to get an interview with somebody and, they won't talk to you, but you offer to scrub their shit out of their toilet and they'll give you the keys to the kingdom. So,
True statement.
That's how that, but I was just, one night I was mopping floors, I think, and I was just going through Spotify. And I just I'm always on that quest to find, something binge worthy. And I'll be damned if, the Far Out Wisdom podcast didn't pop up. And so I just started listening. I think I started with your first podcast and just sort of rolled into it. And it was great. So, that's just kind of how that came about. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like basically my podcast. If you guys don't know who it is, what it is, it's like a spiritual thing, but at the same time, it's just a bunch of weirdos coming together and just spreading the wisdom. Because it's like like majority of the people that I'm normally around, they're really like arrogant. Like the typical Californian attitude. They think they're better than everybody else. Whereas with me, I see like working class, like people who are mechanics, people who are plumbers, people who are just working class Americans. Those are the people that I want to talk to. I don't give a fuck about the intellectuals. I'm not.
You're talking to a mechanic. I happen to be one.
And I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. So like you've hit the gold mine here.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm gonna go straight to politics.
Mm-hmm. Well, wait a minute. Let me put my britches on.
Did you bring your brown ones?
Yes.
So in California, I'm here. I grew up here. I lived here. I'm a city girl. So I'm pretty much like the total opposite of you guys. You guys are in West Virginia. Working class. I think it's like coal mine, right? In area in West Virginia. I mean, that's what you guys are known for, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So totally different world, city and stuff like that. But I start to see like around when I was in university, they start to mock the working class, basically the working class man. They make fun of them. They call you guys rednecks and things like that. I don't respect that because of the fact that working class people we make the United States of America go around, not the intellectuals that sit in their high throne. You know what I mean? So every time I bring that up, I get attacked for it because people in California, I'm going to put it this way, they live in a very bubble universe. They don't.
I've heard that.
Yeah, but because I live in Fresno, so I'm right in the middle. I'm smack in the middle. The Central Valley is the working class of California, basically. We voted majority in 2016 Trump. It's Trump, so like this area right here. Mm-hmm. And so I start to see people kind of mock the working class man, especially like these socialists, these communists. They think that, and like when you look at the socialists and the commies, they don't really have jobs. They don't know, how to mop. They don't know how to, put down, hit a nail. They work with fucking female nails. They don't know how to hammer down nails. It's like, go ahead.
I just wanted to, before we move too far away from it, I just wanted to clarify something with them calling us rednecks. It doesn't offend me that they call us rednecks because we are. What offends me is they don't know what a redneck is.
See, right. It offends me. I prefer the term Appalachian American.
Well, that's because you're like too close to PC, man. Come on, get away from that.
That's just too much for me to say. I appreciate being able to be dog ass drunk. So you damn right, I'm redneck.
Call me a redneck. I reckon I am.
Okay. All right.
So, anyways, I just wanted to get that in before we got too far because I heard you say commie, and that's just going to, just strike up a whole nother conversation there.
That's majority of the people that live here in California. It's these socialists, and these talking about the hammer and sickle. So, Patrick knows my information about myself. I don't know about Liam and John. My dad was a radical Khmer Rouge. He was a radical communist. And yesterday was the anniversary of when Pol Pot and the Rouge.
46 years, right? Wow. April 17th.
Yep. Pol Pot, he was a killer, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was very brutal. And so when Pol Pot took over Cambodia, he pretty much erased everything that was Cambodian culture. So what I'm seeing today, it's what's happening in America. They're tearing down the Confederate statue. They are, I think in Mississippi, or I believe, I don't know, in Kentucky, I believe, where, you know, you can't even celebrate the Confederate flag. Like me, I'm not offended about the Confederate flag. It's not because I'm not like slavery. It's they don't know the history of the Confederacy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My problem is just that they want to erase history. That's always the problem. You know, it's not. I don't have a problem with somebody being offended by the flag. I understand that, but it's the you know, you don't eradicate an idea because then we never learn from it. But I'm sorry, go on ahead.
Well, and also I wanna put to that too. Just proof that they want to erase history is the fact that they're going back and they're protesting statues of people who held the moral value standards of what they're saying they're protesting about. You know, I mean, they're not just picking out, you know, people that they think should be gone. They're wanting to eliminate everything. There's not going to be any statues for you to remember who Abraham Lincoln is.
Well, it's cancel culture.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, and you know, I'm just going to freestyle here for a minute. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you know, since we're shitting on commies, let's do it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Is what people don't understand is one of the very first things that a dictator needs to do is to break the will of the people that he is trying to control.
Right.
And the commies came up with a really great way of doing it. You demoralize people.
Well, let's
you know, not just make them feel small, but demoralize them.
That's always the plan. But let's get back. Let's let Boonn get back into where she's going.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of time to unpack it, but let's lay it down first.
So when Pol Pot he took over majority of the country, he literally erased everything. Like religion was removed. The Christians, I would say, the Christians and the Chan Muslim was majority of the target, and the Catholics. They did everything from execution, torture, burying them alive. The priests, they were killed. And so you're seeing that today in this country because when my parents came here in 1980, they landed in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm from Georgia. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, and then we came to California because of the fact that
good old Southern girl.
The ATL, ATL in the house.
Yeah, so majority of the Cambodians, they landed in Georgia, and we just spread out. All of us just spread out. And so when we landed in California, it's because my dad and his comrades were here in California. So if you guys don't know this, a lot of Khmer Rouge, they do have political power in Long Beach, California, basically like in LA area. So they won many seats already. So as you guys can see, you know, I understand the refugee. I understand, I think Patrick, you just talked to somebody that talks about refugee, the nature of making money off refugees. The
business, yeah.
Right,
the refugee,
business.
yeah, she referred. Mm-hmm.
So when, the right, they make a good argument about picking and choosing our refugees. And I think they made a terrible mistake during the Khmer Rouge time because the fact that majority of these Cambodians that did came, they were also Rouge, like my dad. Now, I'm not shitting on my dad. I respect my dad. He's my father. I have to, you know, he's our head of our household. But
right.
The thing is that I believe in responsibility and I believe in accountability. So if you fucked up or, you know, if you do something that's really bad, you hold yourself accountable for it. The Cambodian people are not going to have justice, ever. Majority of the Rouge, they all died already. They're gone. One person is just serving time right now, but other than that, they died of old age. So we're never going to see justice. So when we came here, I love American culture. Okay, we assimilated life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, American government, and stuff like that. So I'm interested in politics, especially American politics. So I'm told by leftists that I am, what's that word? That I am participating in white supremacy because of the fact that I believe in John Locke's philosophy.
Right, you're racist.
It's like, see, the thing is that when they use the term white supremacy, they're not talking about, when they talk about fascism, they talk about the whole entire system of the American government, American politics. Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and stuff like that, they're all bad people in these people's eyes. So what they're trying to do, and it's really sneaky and it's brilliant at the same time, is they're trying to make white people like you guys, it's like white dudes, especially
how dare you?
Yeah, especially white dudes as the enemy because you guys are holding the United States of America, pretty much the Constitution intact. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to, when I say they, I'm talking about the Marxists. What they're trying to do is they're trying to break that. And
demoralization.
Exactly. When they do that, and they're succeeding. That's the scary part.
Absolutely, they are.
Because they're taking majority of the institution already, especially here in California. They have high position. They're in politics. They're in the media. They're in everywhere. And so, whereas the right, we're working class. You guys are working class. You guys don't have time to go fucking protest. You guys don't have time to do all that. You don't, so they are.
She gets me.
Yeah. So they're targeting specifically white cis male, because their argument is that you guys are holding the Constitution, which you guys are. I listened to your podcast, which you guys are.
I'm sorry, but what does cis male mean?
It means to them. It means straight men who like
straight. Yeah, not that you're a sissy.
Oh,
Don't get. He was about to rip his. He stood up and kind of ripped his shirt off. But he's cool now.
What's going on with that brother?
Yeah, I was a little concerned too, but now that I know the definition, I'm a cis male. So,
that's what they're doing. So what they're doing is
now it can't hurt me.
So the tactics that they're using is Maoist and a little bit of Bolshevik Leninism.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're doing is so they're using tactics of the Russians, the Soviet, the USSR.
Yeah,
I was little when the USSR fell. So, but they're doing that to. They're using the use of language, and it's fucking brilliant that they're doing that. And so,
yeah, it is truly.
Yeah, and so it's really. They take. Go ahead.
Can I? I guess did you follow? You followed Eric Blair?
No.
Okay, 1984. George Orwell. That was his pen name.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I mean, he was on the inside. Aldous Huxley was related to people. They didn't just come up with this. They didn't just, they didn't come up with this. They were leaking the blueprint.
It's a blueprint.
Yeah. And that's the 5 minutes of rage. They talk, and I'm sorry, not the 5 minutes of rage. The 5 minutes of rage are all these, protests over everything. But that's the newspeak. They ban the language, and then they define the paradigm by the new words.
Yes,
and
shrank the dictionary. And
also they define the media. They, the programming. But okay, but I'm going to let you get back into it. But yeah,
yeah, it's really fascinating. I'm so glad you guys are seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, because what they're doing is also they remove God. So you guys are religious. You guys grew up Christian, right?
Yes,
yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you guys grew up Christian. So you guys
just put it out there. I'm Catholic, so
so
bring
Catholic,
that
Catholics
that
and Christians. Yeah. So Catholics and Christians, you guys have values, you guys have beliefs, you guys have morals. So you guys are growing up against people who don't have that. So them, it's anarchy. All break loose. So that's where the right is weak, because they have God. They have a higher power that they look after. I mean, you guys have comrades and stuff like that too, but at the same time, you guys still have God behind you guys. So it's kind of like
we hope and pray anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult for you guys to fight dirty. And I've always talked to the right. I said, you guys don't know how to fight dirty. It's because you guys have God behind you. So I'm trying to kind of help you guys in the process, because I'm not a religious person. I was raised Buddhist, a very strict background of Buddhism. So I wasn't raised Christian. But at the same time, I do understand where you guys are coming from because of my background, and seeing Pol Pot not only did he took the soul and the blood a line of Cambodia, he destroyed it, and we're still suffering till this day. The motherland is still bleeding, and China is making it worse, and China China is taking over everything.
Everything.
And nobody believes
I mean,
that,
and I mean, you being raised Buddhist and us being Christian, I mean, the same simple fact is we still have the same moral system.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I do know that much about Buddhists,
and we sanctify life. Like we consider life as a precious gift from God. I mean,
but see, even
or Buddha or whoever. Right. I mean, if you respect life, I respect you.
I mean, it's the thing. I guess as far as fighting dirty, there in the Bible, it talks about the armor of God.
Right.
And so we don't necessarily have to fight God, dirty, because we can don, that we are dirty in a Christian view. We're dirty. We're filthy people. We're assholes.
Right.
Just because you call yourself a Christian doesn't mean you're not an asshole from day to day. I can verify that.
Exactly.
But at the same time, see, the whole thing is, it's not our righteousness; it's His righteousness, and the crusades that we decide to pick up on. They can fight dirty. In one of my podcasts, we talked about how they can use takia, which is deception, and they can come in and wave flags and be happy and secretly be plotting, and in a way that's kind of, with everything that happened in 2001, and again, that's a whole nother podcast, but I can understand how people, especially people in the government who are responsible for safety, can get a little neurotic about things and say, well, these people have takia, so, they can all come in and be, just assholes. I understand that. But let people's actions be what they're accountable for, not thought crime or pre-crime. But when you have a mosque and, they're saying things like, we are, we just want peace and we want to be part of the community. But at the same time, they have all these damn pamphlets about Sharia law, which is horrible. And, so
they want you to assimilate
it's actions.
to them.
It's actions. So
they want you to assimilate to them instead of the other way around. Yeah. Is what that is.
You don't even see that with Christians. I mean, Christians, they're a little bit different. They like to just, they're honest. Whereas I think with Sharia law, it's against, this is where a lot of the liberals, the moderate liberals, so I'm talking about like Glenn Greenwald and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The weakness is when they don't want to go there. So when I mean go there, how do we liberals go against Sharia law? Like it's because we believe in freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. There you go. That's when it becomes kind of an issue. So, okay, so what if these people, these jihadists, want to do harm? Now, what do we do? So this comes to the social contract. And then, so a lot of the leftists, especially white women, I hate to say that, they are very protective of people of color, including myself. They don't, I always make the joke that the threat to American culture is white women. And it's just a joke. It's a joke.
Well, no. Listen, here, I'm gonna go ahead and tell this story because my relationship, my marriage is some kind of amalgamation. I don't know how it works. I don't know how I'm not divorced or single, but I mean, you've heard my podcast. You've heard the shit that I say. Or strung
up in a tree.
Yeah, but my wife, on the other hand, is super ultra liberal. She's got 3 degrees. And, she, I told her that you were coming on and, she said, well, make sure you talk to her about Asian hate. And
oh wow, the buzzword.
And and then I said, well, I said we're going to cover a lot of different things, and she said, don't be racist. and I mean, I don't know if you've heard. I don't know if you've heard of any of the podcasts that she came on. And granted, I was drinking a little bit. I was sipping just a touch, and she was too. We were sipping a little wine, but it gets to the point where we cannot have that conversation. But it's not, somehow we love it through. But anyway, yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I can't get her to understand it though, Boonn.
Well, this is how you guys want to know my true opinion about this whole Asian hate thing.
Go ahead. Go for it.
I honestly believe this is going to be like a conspiracy. I wish I had my tinfoil hat. I made a tinfoil hat earlier. So I took a picture so you guys can use as your.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, listen, Powder Monkey Radio is going to start sponsoring or have a sponsor that where Liam and I, we make tinfoil hats.
Nice.
Well,
And we're going to sell them.
Wait, no,
like
because
$5,
because
you know.
in addition to the DEA and everybody else, I don't need the damn IRS saying, "Wait a minute, he's selling tinfoil hats."
I'm selling them as an independent contractor. You ain't got to worry about that.
Yeah, 1099, it's done.
Go on ahead, Boone.
We'll even line the inside of a baseball cap for you, so nobody will know.
Yeah, it's like the block it pocket.
Yes.
So this is my conspiracy theory. So in '93, the LA riots happened. You guys remember it? Okay.
I loved it. It was cool.
So the LA riots happened. I was only
followed shortly by OJ.
Oh yeah, I was only 4 or 5 years old, and I remember my parents said we have to go to LA because we have to save our cousin's business because it was being destroyed. So this whole race relation shit has been happening for quite some time. I know,
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like Asian hate. I don't even know what do you mean? There's a bunch of us. There's Cambodians, there's Vietnamese, there's Thais. Which one? I mean, you can't just say, you know what I mean? Like,
traditionally, Boone, I'll be honest with you, it's the other way for me. I mean, I'm surprised that you came on because most Asian women are like, no. And I don't know if it's I break the duct tape out too soon or they catch on that I'm at like a restaurant and, they're asking me if I want more Pepsi and I'm like, yes. But, anyway.
You're like, no, Patrick, we're not going to love you long time, Patrick.
Not love you long time. Hey, listen, this is a dirty
secret. That's racist, Boone. Stop that.
This is a dirty secret about Sean. He had this idea to open a restaurant.
Oh, dude. Okay, go ahead.
It's called Me So Hungry. We feed you long time.
Yeah.
And it's a buffet.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. So this whole thing is like this whole race thing, like between like blacks and Asian, for example. The tension has been happening for decades. And so the media is starting to kind of pay attention to it. I call bullshit because the fact that during this period of time of these Asian hate thing, the CCP was getting investigated by the coronavirus. And so the CCP, they're using tactics. They're using American like their identity, because with America, we're kind of obsessed with our identity. You know what I mean? Like, so they're using that as a way to kind of distract them from getting investigated. So like, for instance, there was the shooting that happened with the massage parlor, right?
Right.
And I called it out. Patrick, you saw it in my post. I called it out. I said it has nothing to do with race. And the reason why the media was so desperate to get that is because of the fact that he was white. Okay. He even said himself in the beginning when he got arrested, he said, "No, I just have a sex addiction, and I pretty much target my sin, and that is, the sex parlor." And so a lot of people got mad at me, especially my Asian friends. They're like, now people are going to assume that every massage parlor is a sex prostitution place.
Happy ending.
And I said, yeah, it's kind of true, because of the fact that the majority of these people, they come from China, they come from Korea, they come from Taiwan. They use slaves from Asia and they bring them into these places. And that's pretty much what happened. Now,
right.
I'm going to say, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit. I mean, it seems because you're an immigrant to our country, right? And you love it.
No, she was born here.
That's right. You were born here, but your parents immigrated. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to misspeak.
Okay.
However, just like with what's going on today at our southern border, because there's Romanians and stuff that are being brought into our country.
It's all the same people. It's all the same people.
Well, I know it's.
But let her. Just let her continue. It's cool.
Well, maybe later we can address it again, okay?
Yeah, we will. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like with this whole Asian hate thing, like, okay, so the poor Filipino woman, the 65-year-old woman that was kicked, and she got her pelvic bones broken and everything like that, and I called it out. I said, that's not a hate crime. The guy happened to come out of prison after killing his mom, and then she happened to be there. And it's very... I don't want to sound controversial, but at the same time, I'm a very logical person. And so I try to see things as is. And unfortunately, the poor one was kicked by the black man, but it was not a hate crime. But at the same time, I don't know all the information. All I know is that he just kicked her. And so a lot of these incidents that's happening, yes, they are hate crimes. that are committed by blacks, which is very common. Like I said, it's very common. It's just the media is starting to kind of pay attention because Asians, we're very successful here in the United States of America. We are the top dogs, like the top earners in the United States, because the fact that we have that opportunity, we have the American dream to do so. Whereas, you know, that's why these critical theorists or these fucking Marxists, when they say things like, oh, the white system or the white supremacy, things like that, I call bullshit, because the fact that Asians are at top. You know what I mean? Like, we get discriminated against, we get beat, we get spit on. Majority of the racism that I've experienced are by, well, unfortunately, other Asians and blacks. You know what I mean? So it doesn't fit in with reality. Does that make sense? And so,
Yeah, it does, absolutely.
So I understand where Patrick's wife is coming from, because the fact that she's a very compassionate person. And so the CCP, what they're doing is they're using that compassion.
Yes.
They're very manipulative. So they will flip it and they would try to make us the victim. Whereas Asians, we're not. We're actually we just do our thing. We're working hard. We work hard. We shut our mouth, we do what we got to do, and we succeed. And that's pretty much what we do. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why. But at the same time, like I said, this whole Asian hate crime is not a rise because of the coronavirus or anything like that. It's because the CCP, they took that opportunity and they tried to like focus the Americans.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and they're blaming it on Trump. Trump's not in power anymore. I mean,
right.
when Trump said the China virus, is he wrong? He's not wrong. It came from China. And we all know that China.
I have hours to speak about that.
Yeah, so
literally, we could do a whole podcast just that. Like literally, and I'm going to do it too. So I would like to talk with you about it at another time. Okay?
I hate the fucking CCP. I hate them with every blood and bone and skin in my fucking body, because the fact that the CCP, they fucked the Cambodians over. They screwed us over. They destroyed us.
Well,
they took everything from us. And so when Pol Pot died, he even said that he wanted the West to win. He wanted the West to win because we would have been in better hands under the West. Of course, you know, Afghanistan, Syria, stuff like that. We're not perfect. You guys know that. You know, we shouldn't even be there. We should be out. Our troops, our soldiers should be back home with their families.
Absolutely.
They shouldn't be there at all. So I get it, but would you rather live under the West or the fascist China? You pick, you choose. So
I already know what my bus ticket says.
Let me ask you something, Boonn. Do you think, you know, the term hate crime or hate speech, well, I mean, obviously it limits free speech,
right?
But do you think that what we call hate speech, do you think it's too anomalous? It's too, you know, just there's. You know, they can make it anything they want it to be.
Hate speech doesn't exist. Free speech is free speech. If you can't handle,
Absolutely.
if you say, okay, I'm going to say, can I say a racist term? Is that okay?
Go
with
for
you?
it.
Okay.
I mean, say what you need to say.
I don't want to get you kicked off.
Well, it's free speech, Boonn. I mean,
so the term, for example, like gook, that's against Chinese. You see majority. Yeah. So the slur against Cambodians is Cambos, right? We were called Cambos. We're called jungle Asians because the fact that majority of us Southeast Asians, fuck it, we climb trees. We got to get the coconut one way or another, right? So we go get the coconut. So they call us jungle Asians.
I love coconut. I love coconut milk.
Put the lime in the coconut.
So this is how I see it. With American culture, it's America, fuck yeah, for a reason. It's because we get to say what we want to say. And it's up to the individual to react. If you are an Asian person, if you listen to this, if you're an Asian person and you are offended by somebody else's speech, then you need to grow the fuck up. Because the fact that if you become offended, your actions or your ideas is a ricochet. It's going to be like a domino effect. Like for example, like Dr. Seuss's book, there was a Chinaman that was running with noodles, right? Who hasn't done that? I've done that. You know what I mean? It's not really offensive or anything. I mean, I have Chinese blood in me as well when the Chinese took over Cambodia. Mm-hmm. And so it's all on you and how you react to it. Because when you say something, it's hate speech, then you're limiting political correctness. And when you practice political correctness, it's going to hurt the people of color because you can't talk about shit like this. For example, in the UK, they have the Asian grooming gangs. The Muslims and stuff were grooming, well, the women. They were raping the women. And the French and stuff, they didn't want to say it because they were afraid that they would get called racist. And so political correctness, I understand where they're coming from. They're coming from a place from their heart, their compassion, which is, it's okay. I get it. But when you don't have serious conversations about who the perpetrators are, well, guess what? You're going to have more problems when you don't get to the root of it because you're afraid to say something. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like, oh, the gooks are the problems. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have to be honest with our speech. And if we're honest and truthful with our speech, then we can finally have justice. Does that make sense? Like,
it does.
It does. And also, I mean, as far as like hate speech and hate crimes, I mean, they're degrading the actual meaning of the word because hate is a very powerful word.
Right.
Most of society doesn't understand how powerful hate is because it's used so much anymore, you know, in hate crimes and hate speech when it's not, you know,
Right.
the actual use of hate, like it's degraded so much that it doesn't really mean anything anymore.
Right. And when there's an actual racist crime. So, for example, another one, Corey Muhammad is a black nationalist, and I called this out. So, in 2016, I voted against Donald Trump. Okay, I had Trump derangement syndrome for only about 4 months, and after that, I just snapped out of it. So, what happened was Corey Muhammad, he specifically went in downtown Fresno, where I live, and you guys can look it up. To the audience as well, you guys can look up information. Corey Muhammad, black nationalist. He was a follower of Louis Farrakhan.
Right.
I called it out. And he told the cops, yes, I went to downtown Fresno and I shot these effing white men, right? And I believe he killed 4 and he wounded 5 others. So like 9 people in total. He didn't get hit with a hate crime. And I called it out among my little Democrat buddies and I said, hey, that's a fucking hate crime. Oh, you can't say that. You can't say that. And you know, this is my issue. When it comes to a person of color committing a hate crime, they need context. But when it comes to a fucking white guy, oh, it's racist right away.
Hang on 1 second, Boonn. Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Gentlemen. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
So, like for instance, like Patrick, he can go and say, hey, to like a chick and say, hey, you're very pretty. Uh-oh, it's a fucking sex assault all of a sudden.
Yeah.
He's a white dude. Now, if I would have went to her and said, oh, it's okay. She's just a chick. See, the thing is that these SJWs, when their use of language, it's very manipulative. It's
planned.
Exactly. It's planned. So with the situation with Corey Muhammad, I called it out. I said, that's a hate crime. And boy, did they get mad. I got kicked out. I got humiliated. I got cussed at. I got told I was a racist, that I did not like black people and stuff like that. No, this guy's a fucking black nationalist. They're like the white nationalists. You know, it's like just the opposite version. They want what is that? The Black Panther. They want that world. You know what I mean? And so I brought this up and I said, I guarantee you, and I told all my Democrat buddies, they're not friends with me anymore because I'm too radical for them now. I told them,
welcome aboard.
No, I told them, I said, there's going to be another shooting. I guarantee you. I go, the moment that you don't pay attention, you guys are focused on fucking white nationalism, which is a small percentage, to be honest with you, a small percentage of these people. And I go, then you're turning around and you are holding whites to a higher standards than blacks. I really don't understand. I mean, to me,
that's racist. I mean, that is the definition of racism right there.
And then there was a shooting at the Capitol, right? Did he kill? How many people he killed? You guys know what I'm talking about? Like the black nationalist that ran over. He rammed his car at the Capitol, from my understanding, not too long ago.
Oh, in DC?
Oh, yeah.
In DC?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so I brought it up, and I sent all my Democrat buddies, and I said, "Told you." I was right, because it's just logic. And I go, stop that critical race theory bullshit and fucking focus on your main enemy. And it's not whites. It's not. It's not the Christians that you need to go after. It's not the Catholics you got to go into. It's not the people in West Virginia or even fucking Alabama. It's not that. They're not the problem. It's just that you guys are put as the enemy for a reason. Because you guys
because you have to have a scapegoat. I mean, all of the globalists' plans are to use scapegoats and useful idiots. And the scapegoats and the useful idiots, they both get the same outcome. It's just at a different time.
Right. And they took out Alex Jones, for example, which I don't understand till this day. Alex Jones has never once talked about race. Never. He talks about conspiracy theories and lizard people. Okay? that's
that's not all he talks about. He does talk about race.
Well, he does, but but the way he talks about it is that that it's how they're using, like you said, critical race theory to cause this division. But when it comes out, that's another point. Now, I have Powder Monkey Radio. I have curated some of the most damn amazing songs mankind has ever heard. And I have, I kind of weave in some InfoWars, clips and things like that, 30-second clips or whatnot. Right. And I have a clip in there where Alex Jones is literally talking about how the media is making this little dead girl who had been shot, how they had taken her death and hyped up whipped up a race frenzy. And so, all the time, never addressing how everybody is constantly killing each other in these places like Chicago, black on black crime. Right. But my wife cannot tolerate it. It's like holy water and vampires. We damn near got divorced because she almost ripped the knob off of the car. I mean, it's like, wham, I can't listen to that. And she doesn't listen. It's not that she can't. It's that she doesn't.
Where did she get all her information, her resources? Because I get mine not necessarily like Fox News or CNN. I get mine from Independent. I do my own research, really. Here's,
and she's not here to defend herself. So I don't mean to beat on my wife, but I'm looking for insight. I need to know. Well, only when I wear the wife beaters.
Oh, okay.
I want to match. Dumbass.
The real redneck.
I want, because she's made me such a better person. Her empathy. Right. Who knew empathy existed? Did you, John? Have you ever heard of empathy before?
Empaths? Yes. We love them.
Anyway, but she has, in all seriousness, she's made me a better person.
Right.
But she gets her information. She's also had to fight with racists. She's had, the actual, she has a biracial child, and she had to witness and go, run into the dumbasses who throw, just the most hateful things out. And so I understand that. So in her way, and maybe that's part of the reason I love her, is that she is fighting with all her heart for what she, in her mind, she believes is right. Exactly. And I think they've taken the parts that are right, that she's crusading for, and they've warped it.
They perverted it.
Yeah. And so, but anyway, that's the little bit of backstory there.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like I said, they're using her compassion and her empathy because let's face it, the right and the left, totally different brain. All right, where the conservatives, they're a little bit more I'm not really sure if I want, it's not because they're racist. They're trying to protect their values and their beliefs, which is not wrong. That's normal in a tribe to do so. Whereas the left, it's just, it's polluted with Marxism. And I hope your wife knows that. It's polluted with Marxism. And we can get into that if you guys want to. I mean, it's going to be kind of like confusing a little bit, but I kind of see where she's coming from, because in her eyes is the oppress and oppressor kind of attitude, right? Like right. Yes. So when it comes to caring about people of color and stuff like that, I get it. I grew up around poor people. I got shot at. Okay, I got shot at as a kid, and it wasn't for my dad. I would have got hit by a bullet, right? I grew up.
Well, if it wasn't for my dad, I didn't get hit by a bullet.
With John got shot at as well, but it was his dad. Anyway,
your dad shot at you. I thought I was kind of expecting.
He's a redneck.
I thought what a woman would be, kind of not his dad.
No, if you meet his wife, you'll understand why she don't need to shoot him.
Yeah. He would just whoop his ass. We have something here in the mountains called whoop ass, and she knows very well how to open a can of it.
She's got the industrial sized cans.
Yes, she's got two nicknames: the Destroyer and the Amazon.
It's like with the poor and stuff like that. We grew up poor. All of us did. I mean, I grew up eating government cheese. I grew up on welfare. I remember back in the day, you had to pay for your food, like this money that they give us. So yeah, I totally get it. I mean, I fucking get it. Like, if Antifa would have thrown the cheese that we ate as kids, they would have fed the homeless and protest correctly. It's like
Absolutely.
It's like I get it. I get where Patrick's wife is coming from. I hope she's listening to this, and I totally understand where she's coming from, and I'm on her side for sure. But she's confusing liberalism and Marxism, because liberalism, if you guys know already, it influenced our Constitution. It made America the way that they are.
I'm gonna hop in for just 1 second, because that was something I absolutely, you kind of took it there, so that's a good sort of segue in. I think I heard your episode. You were talking about the how you hate the word libtard. But you shouldn't see. I think in your mind you think that now, and I don't think I've ever used the word libtard.
I have,
but it is a that is sort of a way to differentiate between the classical liberal and because I'm sorry, but when Leo Zagami uses the word libtard, it is funnier than shit. I love Leo Zagami, but he is he can make it a superpower when he uses it. But but that's not you, Boonn. That isn't you at all. I mean,
I love American history. I mean, when I love it. When I was in my you know what? I think before all the education system went into shit, it's when my teachers were classical liberals. They were hardcore American government, Adam Smith and stuff like that. So it's because of them that made me love the Constitution. It makes me love the attitude of Americans, because it's badass. We swing our dick around. We're
we love you too.
we swing our dick around. We're like, America, fuck yeah. That's us. That's us. That's liberalism. And so when you see the UK and stuff like that, they fuck around and find out what the colonies. The colonies. Yeah, they fuck around. They found out, right? And so
they did.
Yeah,
fuck them red coat motherfuckers. We ran through the briars and we ran through the bushes.
Oh yeah.
And so that's the attitude that we need back, because if we don't bring that attitude back, we're done.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
I have a theory, though. I think if we ever said something crazy like "Make America Great Again," people would lose their fucking minds.
Would lose their shit.
I think they would lose their shit. Yeah, I'm just making a prediction.
That's what Trump was trying to say. Okay, I get, because he grew up I think he was born in the 30s, and then he was raised in the 40s and the 50s, and those were the golden years in American history, right? So I get the whole racist part. I get America was racist. I totally understand that. I mean, America bombed the fuck out of Cambodia, but at the same time, the Marxists, what they were trying to do is the argument the Marxists are trying to make is because this is Cambodian history. Nixon, the Americans asked King Sihanouk, which is the Cambodian king during that time, hey, do you have the Viet Congs or the Ho Chi Minh Trail? Ho Chi Minh Trail. That's where America bombed, right? So a lot of these leftists always bring that up for me. Well, the Americans, they bombed the fuck of Cambodia. And I go, well, you guys have to understand that it's war. There's no justice in war. They did what they can. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Can I hop in there, because when, I knew we were going to be talking about Cambodia, and my dad was 173rd Airborne. And so he, I heard you make a comment about your mom, how you've never really talked much about the genocide with her. And I in my mind, when you said that, I thought, well, I've never really sat down and had a conversation with my dad. And all these years, I've never really had that conversation with him. I figured if he wanted to talk about it, we would. But I had asked him. I said, were you ever in Cambodia? And he said, yeah. He said, I was in Cambodia. A lot of people didn't know we were, but I did, because I had the map.
Right.
And he talked about, just how, the North Vietnamese, kind of like what's happening in our school systems and to our younger youth. But, the North Vietnamese would go into Cambodia and into those villages and those areas and pull out the young men.
Right.
And take them. And it's happening again. Jesus said, "There's nothing new under the sun."
Mm-hmm. They're doing it now.
And it's true.
They're doing it now.
And I understand why you fight so hard, and I respect the hell out of you for it.
Yeah, and so we need a lot of people behind our backs, regardless if you're moderate left or moderate right, because whoever this entity is, we call them the elites and stuff like that. They're making us go against each other. So with the situation in Cambodia, I totally understand why. I've met a soldier. He committed suicide a long time ago because he felt so bad that he was the one who dropped the bombs. So he felt so bad. He told me, he was a Vietnam veteran. He told me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I've caused pain and suffering to your family, which is totally understandable. It's war. The United States of America did what they had to do, and they pulled out. And so a lot of these leftists or these American communists, they use that argument against me in that they made Pol Pot, right? Well, if they made Pol Pot, I mean, the thing with the leftists is that they feel like people of color are not capable of hate, which is wrong, extremely wrong.
I think they know it deep down, and I think that's how they weaponize it. I think that's the whole point. But yeah.
They use it. I mean, like with the whole situation with going back to the Asian hate crime thing. I mean, knowing that the perpetrators are black, they didn't even know what to do. Like, what do I do with this information? I mean, when the guy shot up, when the guy shot up, where was it, in Colorado? He was a Muslim. He hated Trump like a motherfucker, and they were like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with this information. What do we say? They didn't cover it.
Well, that's inconvenient.
They're like, they can't cover it at all. I mean,
right.
It's just, it's really. It really scares me because of the fact that we only have enough foot soldiers. I mean, do you guys know about the intellectual dark web, like Dr. Peterson and stuff like that?
I've Peterson. I guess I've heard you talk about them. And I've listened to Dr. Peterson, Jonathan Peugeot. I love, but
So they're talking about Western civilization, and they talk about God. They talk about Jesus Christ and stuff like that, which is the logos. Basically, like the mythology of Western civilization is pretty much based on Christianity. We can't lie about that. I mean, the whole Constitution was influenced by Christianity. So it talks about the individual, and so what the Marxists are trying to do is they're going after culture. And they're going after your culture. Everybody, like, it's just like anybody who's American knows and see this. And if they allow it to happen, we're in deep shit in the next couple of years. I mean, we have a president that can't even walk the fucking staircase, like, without falling down. He can't even talk at all. And we're being, I can't really explain it. The Chinese, they're demasculating our men. They're feminizing our men, right? You don't see a lot of masculinity as much as we used to, back in the good old days, right? So,
right.
I wasn't alive in the good old days. I was born in '88, so I'm a crack baby. So, it's
81 here. I'm not far behind you.
It's like, so I'm a crack baby. So I don't really know, but masculinity is under attack as well. You see a lot of people go after men, like our young boys. They go after our young boys. I mean, it's just the things that they say, the things that they do to our men is to pretty much what the Chinese are doing, the CCP, is to say, fuck you, basically. And so they're doing that, but the left, especially the soy boys, they make it worse for everybody else. And so they call everything toxic masculinity,
right.
And stuff like that. So we see it. Now, if you destroy our men, then our society will fall because there's the protector.
That is the demoralization.
Well,
I mean, that I keep going back to that.
Well,
but
let's break it. Let's break it down to. I mean, for people just to put it in a nutshell, let's use the image of the flock of sheep and the sheepdog. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens when you cut that sheepdog's nuts off, and he's he doesn't. Or you just take him out of the picture completely, because if the sheepdog doesn't reproduce, you don't have any more sheepdogs.
Right? So, and you need them,
right?
As much as a lot of people, a lot of feminists will call me that. I have internalized misogyny. I'm not saying that, because I was raised with Eastern kind of culture. And I grew up in the Western society. So my mindset's a little bit different, because I believe men and women and children all work together as a team. Because the fact that it's like the Trinity to me, in my personal opinion. It's like you guys need each other. Our tribe, our village, and our family need each other. And a lot of people say that's a fascist kind of thingamajig, whatever. I'm Cambodian. The wife, the husband, they all hunt together. They all go together. It doesn't matter. Everybody is a team. Whereas the West is a little bit different. The West, we have the feminist movement, stuff like that. Everybody's working separately as an individual. So maybe that's the weakest part that I see that we kind of need to like pull together, because here in America, nobody gives a fuck about each other anymore. I mean, I'm in California. You guys are in West Virginia, right? And so in California, the moment that we say West Virginia, they think, oh, those fucking Trump supporters, rednecks and stuff like that. I never had that mindset at all about West Virginia, because you guys are a battleground. You guys are, in my personal opinion, West Virginia is what happens when you let a Democrat fucks it up.
Actually,
that's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, you know what? We knocked doors in 2016. You mentioned 2016. We knocked doors, and
sorry to interrupt you. Didn't you guys vote for Obama? Like West Virginia, they voted for Obama.
Yeah. I mean, we were definitely blue, but now we're actually a supermajority red. And you know, that's the thing that we saw when we were knocking doors. I mean, we would have that list on our phone, and it would tell us what door to knock. It was kind of like Pokemon Go, but it was
Pokemon Go.
Yeah, it was great.
You gotta catch them up, throw your balls at those people who voted. It's just like,
Well, we actually started targeting.
Be like, Trump, I choose you.
We started targeting the hard blue, though. Remember?
Yeah, but
I mean, we literally left from the red to the blue. And what you're about to say, what they said.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same story over and over again, Boonn. It was, we used to be Democrats, or we are Democrats, but our party left us. You know, we're not, we don't agree with them. They don't represent our values and our morals. I had a hard blue, well, you weren't there with me, but I did a video of a old guy. He was part of what we would call the greatest generation. The war and he was on there, and I said, do you mind if I get a real quick video for the campaign? And he was like, yeah, that'd be fine. And he was saying, thank you, President Trump. Thanks for what you've done. I'm a Democrat, but again, my party left me. And we heard that over and over and over again. And Ronald Reagan, I don't agree with everything, but he was funny as shit.
He was funny.
And I believe, that he really had America's best interest at heart. And, we wouldn't be where we used to be if it wasn't for, I can't say where we are today, because we are fucked.
We are fucked. But
anyway, it's...
what I love about Reagan, though? I mean, I love about Reagan because he said he fucking flashed his dick to the fucking communists, for sure.
He did.
Yes, he did. He's like, eat my ass, you fucking communists. All right?
Have you heard any of his comedy?
Yeah, I have not heard of his comedy, but I remember. So we're going to talk about a little bit about Herbert Marcuse, and so because a lot of people are a little bit kind of confused about Herbert Marcuse, because Reagan went head to head with fucking the main guy that you see was happening today. So as you guys know, there's many branches of communism. I don't know if you guys know that. There's no root of where the word came from, and then Karl Marx, the bastard, came into play, and so Marxism is pretty much like a branch of communism, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing that a lot of people are confused is conflict theory, and that's where, because let's be real, classical liberalism died in the 50s. It got overtaken by the Marxists. So majority of the politics that you see with the feminists, you see with the Black Panther movements, they're all rooted in Marxism. So with conflict theory, that's Marx. It's basically he sees society as like a group in like a zero-sum conflict. So pretty much like the oppressor and the oppressed. So basically somebody like right now, the whites are the enemy of the people of color, pretty much to all of us. You guys are taking our resources. You guys are taking our stuff, shit like that. You hear the argument of Black Lives Matter, using that argument to take our shit back, to justify them destroying in the May riots. Using that as an excuse to steal and take shit from businesses and pretty much killing people for it, right?
Right.
So it's broke into class, basically, oppressor. So Marx took that, they took the conflict theory, and they put it into the economic class. So basically the rich versus the poor, like a group level thing, right? Working class proletariat masses against the capitalist bourgeoisie. So example, West Virginia, same thing, right? You guys are coal mine. It's like the Clinton when she was like, oh, well, clean energy. Well, what about the people in West Virginia, you bitch? Like, you don't think about them? Like, you can't just say, oh, let's go to clean energy. Well, West Virginia is coal mine country. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to just make them, homeless? So basically,
I don't mean to interrupt, but just real quick about Hillary Clinton and coming to West Virginia with her clean energy.
Oh, she got
there was a mayor of a small town that said, "Don't even bother coming here. You're not allowed in our city." No, literally, they were like, they would have arrested her if she'd showed up in town. That's how bad they hated her ass.
Yes, exactly. So, so the working class proletariat, so pretty much like what you see in West Virginia, like the poor, and in California, in Fresno, the poor. So it's just an oversimplification, in my personal opinion, of upper versus elite classes and things like that. So, and like he applied conflict theory pretty much across everything, right? So it's called like the Marxism dialectical materialism. I know that sounds kind of like, whoa, what is that? Well, it's basically he took Hegel, and he took Hegel's dialectic. So basically it's like a logical argumentation. It's like it became a philosophical argumentation that evolution applies to diverse things. So basically, like, you'll see like antithesis, synthesis, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So basically, if you guys find a problem, fix the fucking problem, come to the conclusion, and start all over again. But the thing is that what they did was they applied it to everything, including identity, right? So that's when everything started to like kind of screw up. And so the you guys hear cultural Marxism? So basically Marxism, it failed when the USSR fell. The Bolshevik fell, the genocide.
The bourgeoisie and all of that.
Right, and so they denied everything. Oh no, that's the genocide. The genocide in Cambodia happened because of the fucking U.S. or the USSR fell because of the USA spy. They don't want to take responsibility or accountability, which is in the United States of America. We do that, personal responsibility, accountability. That's why we're still strong. We're holding on as tight as we can, But anyways, it's just, and then you start to see everything start to fall, and then the neo-Marxists came into play, and that is the Frankfurt School. And so you have to kind of be really good with your language with these fucking Marxists, is that the orthodox Marxism, that's Marx and Engels, and then we have the neo-Marxists, and that's Marcuse. And so you hear Antonio Gramsci, you hear Lucas, all these critical race theory, they all started in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and then the 90s came into play. And then you have intersectionality. You have postmodernism come into play. So everything with the left, they're taking everything. They're destroying themselves, and they're taking everybody with them, including the right. And the right needs to get their shit together. To get the shit together.
Absolutely.
And do their best. Because, look, I get it. I get the rhinos. I get the Republicans. I get fucking Mitch McConnell. I get that. I go, but they need to really stop. Start with the corporation. They need to take on the corporation because they're one of the bourgeoisie. They're all working together. Yeah. All these people are working together to cause chaos for a reason. And Alex Jones called it the New World Order. Yeah. The Alex Jones call it the New World Order for a reason. Yeah. And that's what they're trying to do. These globalists
and the Great Reset.
You said part of that. You said that you thought maybe you had a solution.
A solution?
Or yeah, I mean, when we were talking before, you thought maybe you had an answer.
Okay. How I see it is that Occupy Wall Street woke and scared a lot of these corporate people. And I'm not saying left or right. I think the left and right should get together. The sane one. I'm not talking about the crazy ones. I'm talking about the sane ones, not the far left. Is that we're fighting each other and we're confusing one another right at the moment. And our target is playing with us. And they're having fun. They're having fun with it. And you see the Russia hoax and stuff like that. Russia is not our fucking problem. China is our problem.
Absolutely.
And so during a debate between Dr. Peterson and Zizek, so if you guys don't know Zizek, he is literally a fucking communist. Even he is scared of China. And I don't know how many times I have to say CCP, and people call me crazy for it. And I go, the CCP took over everything. They infiltrated our schools. They infiltrated literally everything. Our businesses. Google is owned by China. Everything's owned by China.
Well, do you remember? You're probably too. You were born in what? 89?
88.
88. Okay. So, well, I graduated high school in 91.
Yeah.
But even with during like the first Bush presidency, there was the whole most favored nation. And even that made it in that kind of news and that kind of rhetoric, even before there was social media, they would, for so many, and I know that it happens, still today, but we I guess, were kind of the pilot era for the news in the classroom coming into the TV. And so they were pushing across the most favored nation. I still remember all of that, but yeah, you could kind of see China rise. At least that's when it hit my radar, well,
I mean, even the World Economic Forum said that this is the Chinese century.
Yeah.
I mean, literally everybody's looking at China to be the population control, the money distribution. They're the model. I mean, look at Operation Dragonfly.
Well,
look at how they're using Google. Look, they're taking over the world. They're doing it right in front of our face.
They fucking built Mark Zuckerberg.
I know.
He's like a real life Data. I mean, it's going to come out at some point. Like he's going to like his hand's going to fall off.
Real life data.
Yeah. I mean, it's like his hand's going to fall off, or his eyebrow or something. I don't think he doesn't have eyebrows. That's fucked up.
I mean, Michael Jackson's nose fell off. So.
But anyway,
was that his nose?
Yeah, but it's definitely a problem.
Yes.
And people like from the Epoch Times, I
they're
admire the
brilliant,
shit out of them.
They're brilliant. I love the Epoch Times. I'm going to tell you guys a little story. So in 2019, I did a little protest against I like to do my activism solo because I just don't work well with people. I don't know why, but that's what I do. So during the October Revolution, this is the Bolsheviks revolution when they took over Russia. I set the Soviet Union flag on fire, which got over, I believe, almost 100,000 views right now on Facebook.
Hey, hang on one more second, gentlemen.
So I think that's where we met, Patrick. Yeah, I think that's how we met as well, because I think you saw one of my videos. Yeah. But I set the fucker on fire. Nobody wanted to do it. That's how fucking scary it is. Because here in the United States of America, they're okay to burn the American flag, but they have no balls to burn the communist flag, the Soviet Union flag, or anything like that. That's the problem. That's the problem. So I set the flag on fire. So this is during Hong Kong, right? This is during Hong Kong. So a lot of the activists, the main one, took my video, share it, and then all of a sudden I had these fucking Chinese nationalists start to kind of friend request me a little bit. So I'm on their radar already as is, but I've been kind of quiet, but I'm going to do something pretty much soon and to get banned from China. That's my fucking goal, because I have friends who get smeared by Washington Post, Vice, and stuff like that. I'm going to play a step.
I just have one thing to say, and I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but you know what? Not the people, but fuck China.
China's asshole.
And China asshole.
Big asshole. Big in America.
And, Hong Kong was asking Trump for help, and it's like, we get it.
And isn't it strange that all of a sudden this Wuhan flu came out, and when China was losing its grip on Hong Kong, and they were waving American flags, and Americans were like, "Oh shit, they're more American than we are. Maybe we need to step up."
Right?
Yes.
Is that not a coincidence?
Trump was the only president to fucking whip his dick out and say, "Fuck you, China." And guess what happened? Guess what happened? All of a sudden, this fucking virus just came out of nowhere.
Hey, you know what? I have a theory on that, and I believe this to be true, because the CDC does not even have a viable sample of COVID-19. I believe within my heart that the COVID-19 is a complete hoax. It's not the virus. It's the vaccine.
I think it. No, I'm sorry. I think I've had COVID-19. Okay. I think it's a bioweapon.
Yeah, it's called a cold.
No, dude, what I had wasn't.
Well, how come the CDC doesn't have a viable source to where they can replicate, so they can use John
Maybe
Hopkins?
They're dropping it in certain areas. Who knows?
Okay.
Maybe, but here's the thing. I'm not saying that. I'm not, because it is based upon a cold. and I'm not, and maybe we're digressing. We're getting on a little bit of a rant, but I had the motherfucker. I lost my taste.
Yep.
I lost my smell. I
Okay.
at one point I woke up listening to my dead mother's voice. I was that sick, but I never ran a fever. I mean, it was unlike anything I've ever had. So I believe that it is real,
Right.
but I don't think it came out of a wet market. Fuck no. They, especially when they ran. Boone, have you ever heard of spars?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it's like they ran the play and then they actually snapped the ball. And it's no coincidence that, like I said, they were losing control. China was losing control.
Yep.
Yeah.
Control. China did not want to look like a fucking coward. And if you guys don't know about Asian culture, we don't like disgrace. That's one of the things that we try to avoid as much as possible. I mean, Alex Jones said it perfectly. Asians are deadly killers for a reason, because of our history, because of the fact that, I mean, of course, the Westerns and stuff like that, they did certain things, but not as Asians, because why? We're very passive in our actions.
John and I both trained as ninjas back in '84, so we're well versed in the
ninjas.
Both the
Bushido, we are
both in the Bushido
but we're white
and
ninjas
in all 5 rings of the Musashi. Well, anyway, I'm digressing there, but I mean,
we don't even know the virus. We don't even know what the virus is. It's because this is just me, and the audience. Look up the Dark Horse podcast. This is Brett Weinstein and Heather Hayen. They talk about this, and they're biologists. They're evolutionary biologists. Even they say, it's pretty suspicious. It seems like it's a biological weapon, like it came from a lab. And so this is where we're going back to the Asian hate crime. So the CCP, they're using the Asians in the United States of America as a weapon, or as a tool or a propaganda tool do not basically what they're saying is, do not criticize us. I dare you. And then they're going to say they're going to hit you with hate crimes. They're going to hit you with everything. They would take everything from you and dox you, because Antifa is their little warriors or foot soldiers. And they're intimidating us,
You've heard of Lockstep. You've heard of the Agenda 20, Agenda 21, Agenda 2030.
Event 201.
Yeah, I mean, it's all geared. I mean, like I said, this was just, it was a ticking time bomb. They built it. We funded the Wuhan lab. They were looking at gain of function. People who know what the hell they're talking about are saying, why the hell were we looking at a gain of function on a virus like this?
Yeah.
And so, but again, it's all, again, it's the boogeyman. If we're not fighting each other, then we have to be afraid of the boogeyman.
Well,
because how do we lose liberty? We sacrifice it for security.
Right.
It's a diversion from, you were speaking earlier about dialects. Okay. Well, the Hegelian dialect, I mean, it tells you problem, reaction, and cause, or not cause, but cure. You start the problem, you get the people to react, and then you come in as the savior. I mean, because that's what they're doing. It's play by play.
Exactly. It's like with these critical theorists, everything is a fucking problem. So what they're doing is they're trying to destroy everything. They're trying to destroy your identity. They're trying to destroy your religion. Everything is getting torn apart. You see this when I start to kind of notice this is a little bit like I have a podcast episode you guys can check out. It's called The American Cultural Revolution, and these fucking Maoists, I'm looking at everything that's happening. It's like we have the Maoists, we have the fucking Leninists, we have everything. The USS, the Stalinists, they're all coming out to play. And it's just like, and so the right, every time they try to make a move, they get pulled back, they get purged, it's amazing, because they know the right will win. And I say this with confidence, that if there was ever a civil war, the right would win. Why? Well, the right has morals. They have morals, they have values, they have all that. I mean, people can make the argument about Benito Mussolini, and Adolf Hitler had like Christianity and stuff like that. But even Adolf Hitler, even Benito Mussolini, who didn't like Christianity, know damn well not to fuck with it, with humans' religion. We've been doing this for thousands of years. It's engraved in all of us, no matter what race you are. I'm Buddhist. I was raised Buddhist. We had Buddha. And when my dad said to me that he couldn't even worship Buddha when he was part of the Khmer Rouge, and if he did, guess what happens to you? You get a fucking bullet to your brain. You know,
you know what's weird with the Khmer Rouge, too, Boonn, is that they, it's kind of the same thing. I saw somebody was talking about they took the religion.
Right.
They took, the ability to defend themselves.
Right.
They took away the ability to communicate, the sense of, like you said, community.
Right.
And again, it's sort of the same thing, on a much grander scale.
But you guys noticed that, like, when the Rouge was in power. So my mom, she was only like 12. She sat always in front because I believe the kids, the little babies, sat up front. I mean, little babies were up front watching Pol Pot speak, and my mom was like,
know why?
Why is that?
Well, first of all, you get the kids. But second of all, who's going to attack somebody giving a speech when he's surrounded by children?
Yes. So,
that's insidious as fuck. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's fucking sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it
as
is.
a mom, I mean, you guys have kids. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, could you imagine like your baby's being used as a weapon? As an indoctrination weapon to be used against you. This is what the fucking red guards did. They're kids. They were little kids going and attacking monks. They were going and attacking Buddha. I remember one time I was reading a story when I did the Cultural Revolution, when I did my research. It was disgusting to the point where these kids, young kids as young as 8, they were going and they were stripping their elders. They were beating their elders. They took a corpse that was from the Ming Dynasty and taking it out and setting it on fire. I mean, you're seeing this happening with not many American Maoists for sure, but then the action is similar, and they're destroying the four old. And so when you look at the situation in Cambodia, and this is why a lot of the Marxists they don't want to talk about Pol Pot, because Pol Pot succeeded in what they wanted. And so, but then when you look at it, Pol Pot went from commie to full fascist, like all around circle. Like he flipped. He went from no religion to Angkor being the god of the Cambodian people. And if you guys don't know Angkor is pretty much because Cambodia used to be a very we're very proud of our culture.
Around the 12th century, right?
We were very powerful. So this is why you guys have me. All right, this little Cambodian person that's stepping up to her game and saying, "Hey,
God bless your heart."
I'm pointing, I'm touching all the right wing people. I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm just saying, hello." I think you guys should really, really, start fucking doing something, because they're using kids. I mean, when my son's in school, they're putting Black Lives Matter to him, telling him to throw his fists up. My son's autistic, man. He doesn't know what the fuck is going on. He doesn't know his pronouns. He doesn't know any of that. He don't need to learn any of that. You know what I mean? It's like, and if you guys really look at the education system, American government, it's only in high school, senior year. That's it. How come we're learning about fucking communism for the entire semester, but we're not learning about American government, our country? You know what I mean? So.
I did a, my God, it was like a 2-hour podcast with my 6th grade teacher, Boonn, and he's a total badass. His name is Mark Allen, and he
science teacher.
He saw all of this happen, and we did a podcast called Socialism in America, What Happened?
Right.
And, he talked about how the Overton window was moved, how, they came in and they fought over prayer in school. And then, it just, once the conversation gets out there, it gets, it becomes a talking point. And then that that method, that mode, that channel to get into the brain of somebody, because how do we communicate, through words, through, like you said, empathy. Sometimes you can kind of feel if somebody's crazed about something. You might think, even if their philosophy is completely wrong, their theology is ass backwards and dangerous, that because they have such passion, you might fall for that. Right. If you don't hear what they're saying or understand or never saw what a dictator did before, like, Pol Pot, right, or Ho Chi Minh, or, I don't know. I don't know. But,
it's just that we I think it's like the plan, the strategy is kind of, I think, Patrick, you were friends with me in the beginning of January. You remember what I told on my Facebook post when the Capitol got breached by the horn bro, the shaman bro.
Right.
I said to myself, oh my God, you guys should have stand the fuck down. This is why I said it. It's because the media don't like you guys. All right? And they're still doing it till this day. They're still kind of using that, oh my God, the Capitol was breached by these people. But when they come to a realization that the fucking left is just as dangerous, and they breached the Capitol just as well, like the two feminists with the abortion.
No, they were the ones that did that.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah. They went in and they fucking put bombs and stuff like that. See, the thing with the left, and I'm still kind of trying to understand this. With the left, they get away with shit. Every single time. I don't know. I don't even know how.
Well, I know, because it's orchestrated. They have people in higher up. It's again, going back to the Bible and my philosophy. Well, actually not philosophy, because you had mentioned that you shouldn't put dogma, I guess, in with philosophy, or, but I guess my take on it is, I forgot what I was talking about now. I had too much going into my head at one time. No. We're not really wrestling against flesh and blood. It's not really black and white. It's not really, the Asian hate. The spirits that are inside of these people are colorless. It's, it's just, we're just the skin that they're using. And I don't want to sound metaphysical, and people have to take responsibility for their own, because you can also resist the devil and he will flee from you.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, though, it's like, it's demonic as fuck. If you look at the side that they're in, it's like, I've got the Arthur's name. I invited him onto my podcast, and he was so fucking fascinated. He was like, well, your parents are, Khmer Rouge, I want to talk to you. So he's a pastor, and he wrote an entire book, and he made the argument. He said, you know what? Karl Marx sold himself to the devil. I'm like, what? I'm going to have you on my show. And
wasn't he a Faustian? Didn't Marx idolize Faustus?
I think so.
It's
just like, if you guys look at the philosophy of Marx, look at who he is. He's disgusting. He had sex with his maid. He never worked. He was
and it's the worst suit since Hillary Clinton's pantsuit. I'm sorry. The fucking worst.
I think it's up to Obama's tan fucking outfit at this point. It's just like
Well, and he was physically nasty, though. He was dirty. He had boils. I mean,
yes.
that fucking now his stash was on point, bro. His stash was.
I mean, look.
I was kind of digging it.
I mean, look at the philosophy. Look at what he created. I mean, even if it's, some people can make the argument that you hear, if you guys ever heard of the third positions, they are the national communists. So they use orthodox Marxism. They don't like capitalism. They don't like communism. Does that make sense? It's in between the two. So they call
it's authoritarianism. It's absolute state control. Something that I was wanting to ask you, because it's been pinging
John's
in my
been
mind.
passing this note to me, and I can't read his handwriting. So I was like, "Ask her, dude. Ask her." He's trying to behave. I promise. We're all trying to be nice.
Actually, it was a statement that I was trying to make to you. Never mind.
Okay.
What I was trying to say was that what she's talking about at that point in the conversation about how the changes took place, that's happening now in our country, is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. Absolutely.
But what I wanted to get to, though, is because we're name dropping here a lot. Have you ever heard of a KGB agent named Yuri Bezmenov?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I was recommended on a last podcast episode that I did with my friends, and they said,
"Oh my goodness, this guy! He literally, like what you're saying, with the firsthand accounts that you have, and what he was saying, they just mesh so much together that, I mean, it's not coincidental at this point. They've tried this. I mean, like he himself said." For the people to understand, all they need to do is take the bananas out of their ears.
Yep.
But he said what happens to them is that they buy into the lie, and they will defend that lie because it makes them feel better right up until they have the boot of the military on their neck.
Yes.
And that's what we're looking at right now, is that people are just like wholeheartedly accepting the idea of it, and they don't even really truly know why.
Yep.
And we can get into the pollution of the atmosphere, the fluoride in the water, and all of that, to create the dumbed downness effect. But, I mean, what does explain it?
Dude, I had an epiphany the other day. It's the Big Lebowski. The Big Lebowski.
I love that movie.
Fucking out. I mean, 1 minute you're just going along, you're in you got your White Russian, you're comfortable. You take a bath, you're just relaxing, you open your eyes, and they're the fucking nihilists,
Yeah.
And they fucking punch you in the nose because you thought you were good, bro. And then the next thing you know, your rug's gone. It really tied the fucking room together. And I'm just saying, it's the Big Lebowski.
Yeah,
but
I gotta go home and watch that movie again.
It's happening. It's literally happening. It's just happening in everybody.
You know what, Boonn? This aggression shall not stand, man. It shall not stand. That's what I have to say.
I mean, we're getting punched. You guys are getting punched in the dick. I'm getting punched in the tit. We're letting them do it. It's because the moment that
thank you, sir. May I have another?
I mean, the moment that we let them get away with it, or the moment that it scared them. The Capitol, it scared them. It really did.
Yeah.
So we have Occupy Wall Street back in 2007 happened, and then we have the Capitol. That's when the left and the right said, "You fuck around, you found out," basically. And so the corporation, they're taking over. Google, Twitter, stuff like that. They're all working together. Well, they know what they're doing. Go ahead, Patrick. What are you
Boonn, you mentioned Occupy a couple times, right. But I think Occupy was a socialist movement. I have seen the little spiders that broke out from the Occupy movement. Mm-hmm. People from Clean Water Action that have come in here from out of state, and they're in my neighborhood. A neighborhood full of unemployed coal miners yelling healthcare is a human right, not just for the rich and white. But she
that doesn't
is
make
on
sense, by the way. I don't get that.
No, but no, it doesn't. But what the fuck? That's not racist, apparently, though. But I mean, apparently the news covered that. Believe it or not.
Can I say something, Patrick?
Yeah.
So fundamentally, Occupy Wall Street, they went after the big banks. They went after people who were pretty much like the bourgeoisie, basically like the corporation, like Twitter and stuff like that, Jack Dorsey and stuff like that. Now, not now. Back then, not really. I mean, back then, the socialists did kind of make kind of sense. So they went after the corporation, like people like the politicians, like Hillary Clinton and stuff like that. These big people that are supposedly fighting for the working class. So if you guys don't know about me, I don't like injustice. I don't like liars. I like truth telling. I like all the way. I'm telling the truth. Yesterday when I went and got myself like the RV to move the fuck out of California, I was being honest with that guy, and he was like, you don't have to tell the truth. I mean, we can make things up. I'm like, no, I was like, guys, I tell the truth.
Hey, come to West Virginia, please. Come to West Virginia.
I saw some photos, man. That is badass.
Yeah,
I mean, all I would need if I had that motherfucker is anthrax, ham radio, and liquor. If I had that motherfucker, it would be on.
I mean, and when you think about it, guys, I mean, you guys are Christian. You guys totally understand caring for the people. You guys totally understand about feeding the poor. You guys totally understand about helping one another. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. I mean, you see Christians go all over the world, even to Ethiopia, to help the poor. I mean, you don't see Antifa doing that shit. You know what I mean? You see a lot of Christians doing that. So fundamentally, we do really care about justice. We do care about peace. We do care about all that. It's just the approach of the modern day left is a little bit kind of different from the modern day right. So with Occupy, what happened was a lot of these people were lied to, and houses being taken away from them because the banks were fucking up. They were blowing the money. They were raising prices and stuff like that. So I understand fundamentally about Occupy. That's why I use them as an example. So Occupy started this whole thing. Not when Ronald Reagan was fucking showing his dick to the fucking communists, he was arguing with the people at the University of San Diego where Herbert Marcuse was teaching. He said, "Stop fucking around. You know, this is enough. This is done. Stop with your shit." And Herbert Marcuse, see, the thing with Herbert Marcuse is that he had the fucking audacity to come into the United States of America and cause chaos. And his idea is what you see today. It's the mutated version of Marxism. But anyways, it like I said earlier, yes, it stained the movements that you see, like at the feminist movement and stuff like that. It's stained with Marxism. So it uses people like Patrick, your wife. It uses people's compassion, and thankfully you guys, you three have God to kind of help you guys to control and know where the empathy and the compassion is from. Whereas with the left, they don't have a solid thing to hold them together. So they're going to fall apart. But you guys have to know that when they fall apart, they're going to take everybody with them. So that's the scary part.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, they're going to be grabbing like a drowning person. And
yeah,
they're going to grab.
You know, I don't have balls, but they're going to grab your balls and pull you guys down with them.
They'll only do it for a little bit, I promise.
It's going to be. He uses them as a flotation device. So
you know, they're going to.
Yeah, you know, I mean, if cast iron floated, you know,
yeah,
that's what they're made out of. They're cast iron.
An anchor.
So it's the good thing about the Christians and people in religious in general is that, like the Book of Job, for example, when his friends came to kind of put him down, but he held on to his faith. So what you guys need to do, in my personal opinion, is hold on to your faith. Hold on to the Constitution, because like I said, our entire Constitution is based on that religion. Now, sometimes I always say that I don't have a game in this because the fact that my roots go in Cambodia, and of course you guys would love me on your team, which is, it's cool, but I'm just pointing out what I see, and in order to take this fucking demonic shit down is to understand their philosophy, and to take that philosophy and kind of destroy it. But the postmodernists, here's a smart part. They took it and they mix it again. And now if you argue with them, they're like, "Oh, well, you misunderstood me, so you don't understand what you're saying." And so
they gaslight.
Yeah, they gaslight you.
Absolutely.
So I don't know what the absolute solution is, but I think the target is wrong. Does that make sense? Like
you talking about Job,
right.
You posed I guess a question in episode 20 of your podcast, and you said, "Did Jesus tell you to advocate for war?"
Right.
And I mean, I think the whole point, and it's kind of easy to miss for the trees, but I think the whole point is that we're in a war. We don't have.
You're talking like a holy war, like what they like.
Well, I mean, it's spiritual, but it's also physical. It's physical because, like I said, it goes, it goes beyond. See, with me, Boonn, God and the Bible itself, to me, is a quantum device. Mm-hmm. If you look at things like the Rabbi Jonathan Cahn, and you talk a lot about synchronicity in your podcast,
right.
But if you look at the way that the Bible, now this thing supposedly was written thousands of years ago, and it's calling things, it's giving these prophecies all through the Bible, and you don't even realize that they're prophecies. It's like an onion, and you dig down and it's there, and then and I don't want to, dig too deep into Jonathan Cahn, but if you look at his work and how he talks about the Shemitahs and the way that things, the synchronicity of God, how the Israelis came back through, the gates there, and the horn was blown, all, fulfilling prophecies, to the second. And you would just have to kind of dig down into it. But I guess getting into it is, I realize we have to fight it. A pastor came on my podcast and he said John the Baptist preached his head off, but, we have to fight it. But, also he talked about wearing the armor of God and to a lot of Christians, people think of Jesus as this hippie, but when he comes back, it's going to be,
he's guarded for battle. Well, what it says.
This is going to be unlike,
he's coming to kick ass. He's already taken.
If people were amazed by the Avengers, wait till the real God hits and it's going to be a sight to see. And honestly, Boonn, you had mentioned before that, that we're in bad shape and, that we're headed for a bad time. But we are, it's all foretold. I expect it to happen. I don't want to help it along, but I know that this COVID vaccine, and then the ID, I know where this goes. I know how it moves the Overton window, and I see what's beyond it because I've been told, because of this book that was written thousands of years ago, and because my little old grandma back in 1978, when we would go to the grocery store, and they would the first time I ever saw a scanner, and she started telling me, "Don't let them ever put a barcode on you, boy." That's the mark of the beast, and I know it sounds ridiculous now, but she was my first Alex Jones, her and Pentecostal preachers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you guys don't know this, I'm going to be moving to Tonopah, and that is fucking like white. I'd be like, I think I'd be like the only Asian person there. I mean, I'm serious. I'd be the only fucking Asian there. These people are like, they're very loving. And so I see, I respect the Americans at their faith, and when their faith get beaten down, and as you're seeing now, I mean, it's just absolute fucking chaos.
Right.
And
go
ahead.
We do some of our best work when we're, that when the most miraculous things, the most powerful things always happen right as God's people are subdued, and you think it's just about over. That's when he moves. And like I said, I think people are going to see, and again, I realize that there's a lot of different faiths out there, but
right.
This one found me. I didn't find it, and there's things that, that I can validate with other people, just supernatural things, that God has physically done. And, and not even to go back into that. I mean, but,
that's just theological.
We are about to see bad things. I work in the car industry,
right.
And, the supply lines, Boonn, are shutting down. The raw materials, the chips to put in the automobiles. What fucking happens when we don't move metal? I mean, the car industry is vitally important here in America. Right. And did you know that I can't go buy cars right now? We can't go buy cars without paying more than we could actually turn around and sell them for. What the fuck is up with that? It's insane. It is insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like with everything that's going on. I mean, when I went and bought it, like, to be honest with you, like, I felt like because Nevada, even if it voted for Biden for some odd reason, it's pretty red in certain areas, like the desert area, and I knew that this whole mask thing started to be kind of weird, because I wore my mask when I bought my to kind of apply for my RV, and like these guys were looking at me like, "Why are you wearing a mask?" I go, "I don't fucking know. I'm scared." If I take it off, I take it off, I get yelled at by these fucking mask Karens, and if I leave it on, I get called a pussy. So I don't know what's going on. I mean, like with American culture nowadays, or not American culture, but the American attitude, it's so split into different factions. One of my solutions that I think is that we need to have like a nationalized value system or belief or something.
We do.
To hold us together, because if we don't
we do,
yeah,
but people are losing sight of it. And they're tearing it down.
Yeah.
They're tearing it down.
Yeah, and I have,
because we do have that. I mean, like, it's not that we need it. It's just that we just need to recognize that we already have it.
Well, they're changing it, though. That's the thing. They're radically, fundamentally changing it. And
fundamental was a bad word for me when I heard it the first time, and I tried to tell you.
When they can come in and take unalienable rights, and say, no, I don't think you shouldn't expect those to never change. And I've said it before. Solid. I've said it 100 times on my podcast, going back to selling cars. When you bought your RV there,
right,
Boonn, what happens? Okay, that contract you signed, and everything was laid out, spelled out. What, everything, the interest you paid, how much you paid. Mm-hmm. Now, what happens if they could turn around
and just change it
and say, no, I think you're going to pay this amount in interest, and you're going to pay this much for it, 2 years on down the road. Oh, your payments are this now. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I would lose my job if I did that.
Yep.
How can politicians tell us one thing and then do the other, all the same time, thinking that they have the right to take away something that they never owned to begin with?
Right.
Exactly. And and you talk about it a lot, Patrick.
Yeah.
A social contract.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
And our government, they're fucking us over. I mean, it's just like,
we need protections from technocracy. We need protections from things like the Countering Foreign Disinformation and Propaganda Act that was put up on the American people, where all these fucking little shitty websites and all these fucking
Snopes said it. It's got to be true.
Hold on, no, I'm going to fact check that. And it doesn't have to be true.
Make sure you put the picture over the cover over the picture so you can see it if you want to.
But dude, this is Operation Mockingbird.
Yes,
it is what Orwell talked about. What Huxley talked about.
Well, you look at what happened in 2015, where they actually legitimized the CIA or any federal agency to use propaganda on the American people. It's like, okay, we can do that now. Propaganda. And then what do they start screaming about fake news, and Trump even used that. But the fake news that they're looking for, they don't have to look very far because it's coming out of their fucking mouths.
Yeah,
they're lying. They're doing exactly what the Bible tells us that they would do in the end. That they're going to make the right wrong and the wrong right, and they're going to do it in their mind. And George Orwell spoke about it with double speak and the shrinking of the dictionary and words that you can and can't say.
And what's crazy, Boonn, is that with it, I mean, a lot of people think about this mark and this, but the Bible clearly talks about in the revelation of Jesus Christ, when John wrote this, he clearly said, this isn't something that, we think of this beast that comes up out of the ocean and one comes up out of the earth, and you're thinking, what the hell, and it's World War Z.
Movie or what?
Yeah, but no, they're not, kaiju. They're fucking, they're fucking, it's this great society. It's the great society. It's all this stuff that you think he said, even if it were possible, even the elect would marvel at it and think, wow, they have lights. What is this YouTube? I'm sure that when John saw YouTube, the Revelator, he was like, man, I need to go premium,
Right.
But, and then God was like, no, they are going to censor the hell out of you. And so, they're going to ban you. They're going to ban you, dude. So,
right.
But anyway, I mean,
for my name's sake, many will be banned,
Boonn,
we're getting fucking banned today. I mean, all of us. I mean, if I become the target, guys, then I'm just a regular person who I still call myself liberal philosophically. So what I mean by that is the classical liberal
Well,
aspect.
at heart, we're all liberal in that sense.
Yeah,
we
I
all
mean,
are.
if you really want to put me on the political spectrum, I'm pretty much just land on center right where we used to be. I mean, not we, but like where my friends used to be, where we call out bullshit when, because I started to kind of saw these things because like I said, I just don't like injustice. And when I saw Trump supporters getting beat, I think like I knew something was wrong when Charlottesville happened. When I saw like these guys, these white nationalists and stuff like that, they got a permit, they protest, which they have the right to do.
Well, again, wait 1 second. They weren't really technically white nationalists again,
what were they?
though.
What were they?
Well, let me back up. They were, but one actually was, and I'll let you get into it. But actually, one was a Hillary supporter. He, Dinesh D'Souza tore him apart in his movie. I don't know if you saw it, but he tore him apart.
Yeah, link me on that.
He ripped his ass open. But go ahead. I got
you. So like you have these guys with the khaki pants and stuff like that. I get it. I totally get it. They have the right to be there. As much as I hate to say that, it is what it is. They have the right to, because that's our Constitution. The First Amendment protects them, regardless if you fucking don't like them or not. They're there. And then the media was twisting it in a way where they were trying to I knew, so I was like, oh shit, this is fucked up, because I saw people going into their area or their time to protest and acting a fool, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, my left-wing friends were like, oh yeah, that's what you do when you're a fucking Nazi, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, they had a permit. I don't see. And then I started getting attacked again. I lost so many friends. It's ridiculous. I lost friends when I grew up with. Friends that our fathers fought side by side in the Cambodian Civil War. That's how bad it was, because I stood my fucking ground, and I still stand to my ground to this day, that they had the right to be there. And the left came and they fuck around. They found out, didn't they? Because the fact that it's when you can't just go into the lion's den, punch the lion, and expect the lion to just not eat you or attack you. That's not reality. You know what I mean? So, and then Trump said something, there were good and bad people from both sides, or whatever. I don't know what he said exactly. Do you guys know what he said? That the media.
Yeah, it was paraphrased as that.
Yeah,
there were good people on both sides. Because what he meant by that was that there was good people that were there to protest because they believed that there was an injustice, and they were going to do it peaceably, and they were going to do it in the way they believed. Right. And then there was the other side that was like, fuck you.
So to paraphrase, Orange Man bad.
Basically.
That's what Trump.
But let's not trivialize it just down to Trump. Let's look at the real problem that happened in Virginia. It wasn't Trump's fault, first of all. He couldn't do anything about it.
He couldn't do anything.
What happened there was that there were dumbass people who were looking for the opportunity to agitate.
It was manufactured.
Yes.
Is what you're trying to say.
Yes.
So then a young woman died, which we all know. All four of us are not saying that she deserved it. We're not saying that.
Hell no.
But what we're saying is that maybe there were bad people on the left side. This is where we come back to the beginning. Why the left never take fucking accountability. That's why I never call myself a socialist. I never call myself a communist. I never call myself any of that, because the fact that I know the history of the left and how they are. I mean, sure, we have the right. What they, of course, they can act a fool as well. We're not denying that either. We're all fucking human. But at the same time, they take accountability. They take responsibility. The guy who I believe he's not a Nazi anymore. He left because of the backlash that he was getting. He left. Vice did an interview with him. He said, "I'm not part of this group anymore. I left. I'm done." So he saw what happened. He's like, "Nope, I'm out." You know what I mean?
I had a Vice contributor contact me. And
oh, really? Wow.
She was writing for a piece for a publication called 45 Days in Appalachia, or 100 Days in Appalachia. I'm sorry.
Right.
And so when I went in, I kind of looked her up, when I got the email, and I realized that she was a Vice contributor, and I thought, oh, fuck, And she asked me, I mean, she was pretty straight up with me. I recorded everything. But, she asked me about, Charlottesville. And I thought it was kind of strange, because I had nothing to do with Charlottesville, but,
Right.
You're
white, so yes.
hashtag not my protest. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but you know what's fucked up?
Well, let's talk about the violence in Richmond.
Hang on. What we fucking what we talked about 4 years ago. This was in 2016, 2015, 2016. Mm-hmm. What we talked about and what I said. Now go back and listen to it and tell me if I didn't nail it on the head. I talked about how they prayed, how they would. You were talking about the children and Pol Pot.
Right.
Well, Chavez. Have you ever heard about how the children? They would put. They would tell children to pray in front of empty plates, and it would be, no food. Pray to God, and then they would pray to Chavez, and then magically they would, they would go around and start feeding them. Well, it's all the same thing. Again, nothing new under the sun.
Exactly. The same fucking tactics over and over and over again, and we're not learning about it. And then as a female, I have a soft spot for kids. No matter what race the baby is, I just love kids. I mean, I believe in my husband. We're thinking about adoption of a child in Cambodia. We're working on to get the little baby to this country. And so now can you imagine, like, and this is going to kind of like a psychology thing, like, Carl Jung talks about femininity and masculinity. Femininity trait is when it comes to young child. So the left, in my personal opinion, is very high in feminine traits. So you see a lot of people have compassion, empathy, and stuff like that. So when you use little babies as a weapon, as a political weapon, I believe is a form of toxic femininity, because you don't do that to kids. It's your offspring.
Absolutely.
This is how I see it, because I'm very protective of, not only because I take my marriage seriously, I take my marriage and I take my motherhood very seriously. I mean, I protect my tribe, I protect my babies, I protect my village, basically. I mean, that's
again, fellas.
And so it's like I take motherhood very seriously. I protect little babies. Now, when I see the left using little kids and indoctrinating them, I mean, look at the state of our youth. I mean, in comparison to when you guys went to college and see the difference between when you guys were in school to now.
I never went to college.
John drove through. He got drunk at a college a couple times.
Yeah, I've hung out at a few colleges and got thrown out of a couple.
So you guys grew up in the 80s, like high school, right? High school and all that. So
John drove through a high school one time.
when you look at high school, I mean, back in the day, I mean, when we had bullies, we had real bullies. We didn't have internet bullies. It's a little bit different.
Right.
They neuter us to the point where fucking somebody say mean things to you on Twitter, you want to fucking dox the motherfucker.
Shit, people got teabagged in our high school.
Here's the thing, and that's how I met John, actually, believe it or not.
I didn't
teabag. Let me back up. That we're cutting that. No. But I mean, I've been in this town all my life, Mount Hope, West Virginia. But there was a brief period of time my mom dad got divorced.
Oh, yeah.
We moved out of town. Well, a couple years went by. I come back. I'm this little fat kid. It's 5th grade. And I'm again the new kid. I'm not only this fat kid. I'm the new kid as well. And so I'm getting picked on like the first day in school there. And there's this dude and he's like 8 feet tall. And how old were you back then? Like 32?
I was 17.
He was 17 in like the 5th
grade. Yeah.
And we literally, after he stood up for me, he was like, "Come on, dude, I'll drive you home now." Yeah. And we've been friends ever since.
I fed him his first beer too.
But I mean, in all seriousness, it was different. It was a different time. And, and you mentioned you mentioned you're a millennial. We're Xers, I guess.
Yeah.
But we kind of together, all of us were sort of you mentioned this too. We were kind of like the last of our of those people who actually were in the 3D world, brought up in the 3D world.
Right.
I think you mentioned that tech.
But think about it. My parents were they were not even boomers, because they were villagers. And so I was raised with that mindset. So that's why you guys hear how my mindset of female and male is a little bit different. Like I said, it's my parents were like a culture shock. They're like, I don't know why people are like separate like that.
The Cambodians sort of remind me of the Mandalorians. The women, like you said, they're all in it together. It's all they hunt together, all of it. So. Right. Yeah, so
and we're like Eskimos. We're like Eskimos. Like
you need a fucking helmet to wear around and just be like, "This is the way." This is the way.
It's just, and so like you guys said, that's why I'm a little bit kind of. A lot of people said that I'm mature for my age, which is kind of like it's kind of true because, like I said, my parents were not necessarily boomers. I mean, you guys were here. You guys were in the United States of America, so you guys were like Western values. You know what I mean? My parents were not. They were villagers. They didn't even have showers. They didn't have electricity. They hunt their own food. They did everything on their own. They were rice farmers, and so I was raised with that. I was raised to do everything that you do. Yeah, everything that you do it. You're 100%, 1,000%.
I've got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because I need to know this. Your great grandmother, 124 years old.
124 years old, and I believe she was a part of Mao's revolution as well.
Can I ask you if you know what? I mean, was it what type of diet did
they ate no meat. Actually, I lied. They ate meat, but it was by their calf and stuff that they raised. So everything was not the way that we're consuming here in the United States of America. It's all processed food in the United States.
Yes.
It's all GMOs. Whereas when my grandmother was alive, she was smoking cigarettes. She was chewing tobacco. She was
what?
Yeah, she drank the water that was pretty much the villagers during that time. She even survived the Khmer Rouge during that time as well, too.
Are you sure that's Cambodia and not West Virginia? I mean, I've known people that great hair.
Do they have banjos in Cambodia? Because that's, I mean, you talk about the Khmer Rouge and everything like that, but if you're in West Virginia and it's dark or you're lost and you fucking hear banjos, oh shit.
And so my great grandmother was 124. I believe she was a part of the Maoist revolution. She came to you gotta think about the Chinese. They bred with a lot of Cambodia and stuff like that. Even the French, when they took over, they bred with the French as well. So I have French blood, Chinese blood. If you go to Cambodia, they speak English, French, and
man, I'm so
Chinese.
glad they got rid of Pepe Le Pew. I mean, because like you just solidified why they did it for me. Thank you.
And so, and that's how my mom and dad was raised with that mindset. I mean, it's like you do what you can. I mean, if you look at the socialists nowadays, they always think that money's going to solve everything, that's not necessarily true. It's your attitude that's going to solve everything. It's not money.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what I mean? Like your worldview. So I was raised with that worldview. I wasn't necessarily raised by boomers per se. I was raised with literally village people mindset. You know what I mean? Like we did what we can. We grew up poor, and so that's why it cost my background cost me a lot to get along with like everybody. I grew up with gang members. I got shot at. I got fucking beat up and stuff like. It toughed me out. Now the generation that you see today, you beat them up. They're like, I'm gonna fucking sue your ass.
Wait, oh my god! I got to stop you. I got a question.
Yeah.
If you were raised by the village people, why didn't you just go to the YMCA?
I was thinking.
Because that's a safe place, Boonn, and you would have been safe there. Yeah. They have everything that you can enjoy.
If you guys look at like, all four of us,
you can hang out with the boys.
I mean, all four of us. I mean, even if I'm like young, I still understand where you guys are coming from because not only that, I have empathy. So I totally understand like the working class, and that's why I stood up to actual working class people who lives in Alabama, stuff like that. I get it, and like this whole notion that the people from the South is racist. So it's like they're in the South.
Well, I mean, you were talking about being, straight up, and I mean, there are racist fucks around. I mean, and again, I mean, with my wife, I mean, we've been at family gatherings, and a family member say something fucking racist, and it's time to go at that point.
Yeah,
Christmas is over.
Yeah, I mean,
grab a fucking turkey leg and head to the door.
Go to
and I'm good with that at that point. You know what I mean? But
because this shit's getting crazy anyway.
But
you know what I mean? And just like, I get to know anybody. Like, if I podcast, with you guys, I podcast with a lot of right-wing people, and they have conversation because they're curious.
Oh, wait a minute. Now I'm offended.
They have never talked to anybody that the left is talking about, like people of color, people who are poor and stuff like that. And the first question I asked me is, what's your first thought about Asian people? Cat? Dog? What? Bugs?
I don't like your food.
We feed you long time, remember?
And that's what I said, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to break that ice, is because we're all racist in our own way. We all
absolutely, we all have that.
I bet the motherfuckers after 2020, I bet they fucking leave bat off the A, B, or C, right?
But you guys know that before the coronavirus got discovered, there was the Chinese. They have a lab in Cambodia, and they found COVID-19 in a pangolin in Cambodia's lab. So just letting you guys know. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they found the pangolin. Look, it's true. Asian people. I don't know about the dog part, because I have a dog and I see what she eats, and no thank you, because I'm Americanized. But I get it, because I mean, like if you guys go to if you ask people from like West Virginia, do you guys really like play the banjo and shit? You know, it's like
no. Like you know what? Well, I was out with my cousin last night, and she asked me the same damn question, and I said, "Listen, baby,
with his cousin like that,
because you're pregnant, you know. So but get out there and change that fucking tire too." That's
here in West Virginia. Have you ever heard the term roadkill?
I've heard the term. I heard the term roadkill, stuff like that. It's look, if you
like
really
possum gravy. You ever heard of that?
Literally, West Virginia has a state law that says that if you hit a deer on the highway, you have the right to eat it.
I hit a fucking deer one time. I hit a deer one time with my Jeep, dude. And I was right across from a state police station. So I thought I was doing the right thing. And like, hey, I hit a deer just now. He said, you want to just take it home with you? I said, no, I'd kind of like somebody. I'm just going to kick it off the side of the road. Y'all can take it from there. And
let's marinate a little bit. I'll come along.
Look, we're coming up on an hour and 58 minutes. I don't know how much time you got or anything. But there's a couple things I want to cover just real quick. One thing, I guess maybe just one last thing for you, because I thought it was really. We
got to do this again, though.
Yeah, absolutely, anytime. But you had mentioned, how will people remember you when you die? And I mean, obviously, you are fighting this fight because if we don't win this. Mm-hmm. If we don't, I mean, at some point, like I said, I know what's ahead of us, and there's going to be a point where it doesn't look like we win this, and then shit gets really bad. But if we don't say these things, if we don't record, if we don't do what you're doing, mm-hmm. and what we're doing, and what Alex Jones is trying to do the best he can, I mean, he's got this, he's got a great platform, but just think of what the ears he can't reach because they have decided to do it. But, not getting off on that, but, if we don't stand and if we don't speak and if our voices aren't heard for posterity, then, it truly is lost. But how, I mean, in 100 years, when they look back on the Far Out Wisdom podcast or Wiki Boonn him, mm-hmm. what do you want it to say about you?
It was probably say, because when this is going back to my dad, he was a coward. And I hate to say it like that, because it took him 47 years to admit that Pol Pot was wrong. And the reason why he admitted he was wrong is because he was afraid to get killed. I don't want to live that legacy. I want to have the legacy that I stand up for truth. I stood up for justice. I stood up for going against these fucking bastards that are just tearing everything apart. And
amen, sister. I got your six.
Even if I'm tiny, I'm only 4'9", guys. I'm tiny. I'm small. Okay. I would rather be known that I've fucking thrown my fists, and if I miss, I miss. But I took that fucking shot.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what I because I'm just letting you guys know that it's like the culture war, guys. It's gonna get bloody. And so what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to get like the best of the best to come together and say, wake the fuck up, guys. let's not worry about chicks with dicks, okay? Or pronouns. It's like, wait,
I was warned not even to bring that up, and here we go.
I was like, let's not worry about pronouns, guys. Let's not worry about any of that, because if you guys don't know this about Edward Snowden, he's arrested. I don't know where he lives. I think he lives in Russia. If if he is the enemy, then we have a fucking problem.
Yes.
Because our idea of a hero, it's turned upside down. It's because our fucking villains are now the heroes, and that's the problem. And I'm trying to change that. You know what I mean? So.
Woe unto those that call good evil and evil good.
Yep.
We Boonn, you're fantastic. I thought I would wait till we got a good bit into it, and I think I've covered just about everything, but we have a gift for you here at the Powder Monkey Podcast, and on behalf of InfoWars, PirateInfoWars.com, the Powder Monkey Podcast, all the crew here, InfoWarsDomains.com. We're going to do that classic legendary 360 win. I have a gift for you. You're now a .com owner. I registered for you. They're yours to do with what you want. We'll talk after the show. I'll get it switched over wherever you want. But okay. I saw where these fuckers might be able to go in, register your intellectual property, and then, by grabbing a .com. So I grabbed the FarOutWisdomPodcast.com and FarOutWisdomPodcast.com, and we'll transfer those wherever you want. They're yours. But,
thank you. I appreciate it.
But so now, people can go straight to your URL, and absolutely. But I registered those through Epic, and we greatly appreciate your fight. And I thought that would be, a little bit of a way to magnify what you do. And I hope, I hope you reach billions of ears with it.
I hope so. I mean, I'm trying. I'm trying, guys. I mean, let's put it this way: I would rather be the face of it than because they're not going to listen to whites. I hate to say it. If it's a white person fighting the culture war, they're not going to look at it. They're not going to listen to it.
I've got like 15 followers now.
You're gonna need a little tiny person, a little fucking.
Hey, listen, I hope you take this the right way, but this is what we're going to do, okay? We got 4'9" little girl come out and kick your fucking ass, because she's going to spit the fucking truth, okay? Now, go away before I touch you a second time.
Have you guys ever watched Stormtrooper? You remember that little boy in the end? He was the leader. He was leading the whole, the bad guy. It's that little person. And so never underestimate a small person, because even the mosquito can do a lot of damage to a person.
You're damn right.
That's it.
Well, I'm really glad John went there, because I wanted to say this and I didn't want to sound racist, but I really don't care. Since you put your height out there, it's so nice talking to a stereotypical Asian.
Hey, we love you, though. Seriously, if you ever want to get out of California, drive your RV to Mount Hope, West Virginia, and by God, we'll find a place for you to park it.
I will throw an extension cord right
there.
out.
There you go. You are more than welcome in our neighborhood any day.
And before I go, this is a little sense of humor. No, to the listeners, I'm pretty sure that you guys are like Alex Jones fans, stuff like that. No, Asian pussies are not sideways.
Oh my God, she went there! Wow. She went there! Touchdown! Because that was going through my mind.
Oh,
yes. Well, thank you so much for clarifying that. Wow.
Well, what a way to end the show.
Wow. Hey, we love you, seriously. I don't care if it's sideways or upside down.
Okay, I'm going to clap.
Yes. All right, yes. This was a fun ride. Thank you, Boonn. look, I want to get up with you. I want to like maybe, because I'm working on some things myself, you know, and I would just like to just sit down and just, you know, like maybe just do a whole just phone conversation of just your ability to talk shit like a guy. I love it, really.
Yeah, that's so fucking sexist.
I know it, isn't it? Hey, at least I ain't racist.
I've heard many things. I mean, think about it, guys. I'm a millennial, guys. I compete with men. I said it before. I live my life like I'm in prison. I fight the biggest guy, even though I was like small. It's just.
You know, it really doesn't go. It doesn't go both ways. I mean, seriously. I mean, there was one point I wanted to be a lesbian, and I was working.
I wanted to be a ninja lesbian.
I was with these friends at work, and they were lesbians, and I was like, I think I'm going to be a lesbian, and they were like, you can't, and I was like, why? And they're like, you have a dick, and I'm like, that's so fucking sexist, you know. But I found a way. I identify as a vegetarian. During him, it was great. I really appreciate you coming on the Powder Monkey podcast.
Thanks, guys.
We will have to do this again.
Yes, this is mandatory.
We will say our goodbyes off the air, but thank you so much for coming on. And like I said, it was absolute
great show. Thank you.
Just letting you guys know that Zencastr, I'm going to have to end this. When you end it, I have to leave my screen up so it can download on your end. So I will mute my mic and call it.
Okay. Okay, so now you said you're going to produce this, right? And
yeah. Just send me if you want me to do post production. I'd definitely do it. But if you
that's up to you. However you want to do it.
Yeah.
But if you want, I'll. So just to do that, do I hit stop recording now?
Stop recording. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Purple shrines on our head. Phenobarbital makes us dead. To heaven's gate we will go. So climb aboard
for God, for country, for truth, for justice, for the Republic. You're listening to the Powder Monkey Podcast on PirateInfoWars.com.
The comet's coming, it's getting near. Our conscience numbing, we have no fear. I called my friends up and they're all here. We're putting in vodka, yeah.
Was that you?